immediately, effective now, puts a halt to President Trump's unconstitutional and unlawful executive order.
Now at 6:30, it's a decision in a Seattle courtroom that will have a nationwide impact. A judge has temporarily blocked President Trump's ban on travelers from 7 Muslim-majority countries. Good evening, I'm Lori Matsukawa.
And I'm Mark Wright. Thanks for joining us. So a week after the president signed his extreme vetting executive order, a Seattle judge late this afternoon temporarily brought key provisions of that order to a halt. King 5 political reporter Natalie Brand was in court today. She joins us now. Natalie.
And Mark, this is being considered the most significant, severe legal setback to the president's order so far because this case, the Seattle case, was the most broad in asking for an immediate halt to key parts of the president's executive order that would apply nationwide. And late this afternoon, as you said, federal judge James Robart, appointed by President George W. Bush, granted them this emergency temporary restraining order they were asking for.
It's obviously a historic decision and an important one for the rule of law and for the people of the state of Washington and the people of our country. I said from the beginning, it is not the loudest voice that prevails in a courtroom. It's the Constitution.
And the state of Washington's case against President Trump's extreme vetting executive order was filed just this past Monday after a weekend of chaos and confusion at airports across the country as certain people affected by the order began to be detained. The Washington AG's office argued the order was unconstitutional and has caused harm to Washington residents affected by the order, as well as the state's universities and the economy. But this is a tough case because the law gives broad power to the president to restrict entry of immigrants when deemed in the national interest. There's a congressional authority there, and that's what the Department of Justice attorneys argued today in court in defense of the executive order, which states it's intended to protect the U.S. against the threat of terrorist attacks by foreign nationals. So I asked Washington's attorneys what they believe made the difference in this case, and here's Solicitor General Noah Purcell, who argued today.
The stated purpose of protecting national security was not really what was motivating this order. That, along with all the president's many statements targeting Islam and Muslims and those of his advisors. So, of course, I don't know exactly what the judge was focused on, but I think those are the sorts of things that made this a different case than a lot of the other executive actions that have been taken over the years to protect the country. And this is just fundamentally different from those in how haphazardly it's been carried out and how poorly thought through it was.
Now, I'll tell you where there's been confusion, the president's executive order. That's what caused confusion. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. It's Keystone Cops. It really is. And that's not just me speaking, that's Republican members of Congress.
That response from AG Ferguson came after a question I asked about whether he worries if there will be confusion among federal agencies and agents tonight, given that this ruling came down at 4 p.m. on the West Coast and applies nationwide. We're heading into the weekend. We have not yet seen a response from the White House or president. Also important to note, this is a temporary restraining order. There's still a full case that needs to be argued before the court, and dates for that have not yet been set. Back to you.
All right, Natalie, thank you. And joining us now is Hossein Karam of Bellevue. He is a Muslim American originally from Iran who supports President Trump's immigration executive order and extreme vetting of those who want to come to the U.S.
Mr. Karam, what was your reaction to today's ruling by the federal judge?
Well, I think today is a sad day. It's a day that it would only embolden the Islamic terrorism and the policy of appeasement we've had for the last 8 years. It is continuing. I'm sad to see this.
What's the danger posed by refugees from those 7 countries that the president identified? Some people would argue that the terrorists who've attacked America so far haven't come from those 7 countries.
Well, this is just that it's not a ban, it was a pause. Islamic Republic of Iran had made specific threats that they are going to send terrorists to our country to destroy and damage and kill Americans. So has ISIS. And in the light of those specific threats, I do not understand the judge's ruling today, because if they do come here, they're going to wreak havoc, and that's not to the best interest of the American people.
Your family had to flee Iran back when you were a teenager. The vetting then was probably pretty intense. How would you improve or increase the vetting today?
Well, my heart goes to the refugees. We were refugees ourselves too here. I went through the same process, and this is a land of prosperity, the land of the free. We're glad that we came here. We're honored to be part of this country. And I want the new people to come. But I think we need to expand our refugee process and the vetting for it. I think part of the vetting may have to include what they do here once they arrive, and maybe their own communities need to watch them a little carefully. And also asking questions about their ideology, if they believe in Sharia law or not, and perhaps do a little more extensive research to the backgrounds of the applicants.
So you were a Trump delegate, and that must have been an interesting time over the summer. As we've seen the first couple of weeks of the Trump presidency, a lot of people are shocked at how this is warp speed. Knowing the Trump campaign from the inside, has this surprised you at all?
You know, I knew he was an unconventional candidate and he would be an unconventional president, but the speed of which he's proceeding is a little surprising to me too. And I'm pleased to see this because we have a lot of work before us, especially when it comes to national security. 80 years of appeasement has really emboldened our enemies. The Islamic terrorists have made the specific threats against the United States interests and American people. And we should not go the path that we have gone. We need to change.
All right, Mr. Hossein Khorram, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.